All eyes in the northeast on Jose. Category 1 storm. Starting to see some of the outer bands of Jose beginning to create some coastal flooding concerns, as well as some rip currents and some high winds from the Carolinas all the way up through New York, even into Nantucket here over the next couple of days. Thanks for joining us here on Weather Nation. I'm Joel. She's Meredith. We're going to be checking in with John Van Pelt here coming up in just a second. But again, Category 1 storm here. Winds up to 75 miles an hour. But we're starting to see some storm surge concerns as well.
Yes, as we get some of those outer bands moving in, we're going to notice also the threat for flooding. And you can see we do have tropical storm watches and warnings in place as of right now. And it includes pretty much coastal all the way from the Carolinas up toward Boston. And the good thing about this storm, Joel, if we want to look at a positive, is it is not expected to make landfall in the northeast.
Yeah, but I'm definitely concerned for the Nantucket area. That's why you're under a tropical storm warning. If this storm turns to the right a little bit later than we think it is, then you could have some more significant impacts. So something that we are going to be keeping an eye on. Most of the models are in agreement up until noon Wednesday, and then we don't know what they're going to do, and they're going to go all over the place. And that's why we do have our team of field correspondents out there to give us a play-by-play for what they see. And we're joined now by America's favorite field correspondent, John Van Pelt. John, another busy day in North Carolina, buddy.
I was waiting for it, Joel. I was waiting for it. Thanks, man. Hey, Meredith. Yeah, on the Outer Banks here, it has been a mixed bag of high wind and high surf and flooding. No freshwater flooding. This is all oceanside flooding. Look at the angry sea behind me. We're still over an hour away from high tide, and the surge has been moving in here for well over an hour. The dunes are completely gone here on this part of Avon, North Carolina. Now, last night they had a couple of feet of that flooding coming here. Tonight's going to be worse because the winds are higher, and we're still over an hour away from high tide. So these 8 houses or so have lost their dunes. There's not one thing in the world to keep that Atlantic Ocean from coming up under the houses. Luckily, they're all on stilts here, at least 8 feet, so that shouldn't pose any problems. The big deal is going to be for vehicles parked in some of these driveways. Most of the people have moved their cars. And then Highway 12 is just that way a little bit. Up here, some of this water may make it to Highway 12, but farther south, we were already seeing water on Highway 12 last night when the storm was not nearly as intense as it is now.
And John, any last minute tips? People, this is still the time that you can either get out of your house if you feel uncomfortable, or things that they can do before those high tides come in later tonight.
Yeah, Meredith, down here, because they're on stilts, we're not so much worried about personal safety, but we got a lot of viewers who are watching us on Dish and Direct down here, and a lot of people have said they've been paying attention to what we're saying. The main thing I want to worry about is after dark tonight, this water that does go over Highway 12 is going to be a huge problem. It could be a couple of feet deep on parts of the road, and people can't see that water at night because this is not like a city where there's street lights all up and down Highway 12. So if you hit that water going fast, not only could you have a wreck, but you're also going to flood out your car and be stuck until somebody can come get you. And also, for tomorrow, more rip currents, a high risk of rip currents. We're still going to have that high wind advisory, and we're still going to have that coastal flooding advisory through tomorrow, and in some parts of the Outer Banks through Wednesday. So people just need to stay safe, stay inside, and listen to us.
Appreciate it, John. John Van Pelt on the scene there on the coast of North Carolina. Our team coverage will continue. We're also going to be talking more about the folks in Puerto Rico. We do have Brett Adair there, as well as Brandon Clement, as we'll dig deep into Maria coming up on our next segment. But still some coastal flooding concerns, as John said, coming up here, Meredith, into the day tomorrow.
Yes, and you need to know that these are the big things we're concerned about. The marine hazards for boaters, high surf combined with those very dangerous rip currents, not the kind of weather you want to be surfing in, and also that coastal flooding, some of those local highways that are right along the coast, as well as beach erosion. These are the big potential impacts that we're looking at from Jose. And we have those high surf advisories, speaking of that continue until Tuesday. We're looking at getting some of those swells up to 9 feet, and the biggest threat, as John was just saying, is going to be during high tide tonight and a high tide tomorrow, when that will really start to push those swells into the coast and inland as well. And you can also see we do have part of the New York Island under that high surf advisory until Tuesday, and even down to the south you can see these areas in purple. That is also where we are looking for that potential of surf up to 12 feet. So